This evening's broadcast is brought to you by Home Guys Home Services. Hello, and thank you for joining this broadcast of Port Angeles News. I'm your host, Arthur Wojnowski. We begin this broadcast with a special thank you to all our veterans out there who have served this country. Vietnam veterans were celebrated and recognized for their service and contribution this weekend. Roughly 2,700,000 Americans served in Vietnam. Coming home, they were criticized and protested. They were not given the respect they deserved as Americans who fought and gave their lives for us back here in the United States. Now we celebrate their service on March 30th.
Thank you all for being here. I think for Bill Peach and me, this is a special honor because we're both veterans, and I am a Vietnam veteran, just in case anyone might want to know. And for us to have the opportunity to put together a proclamation that is so meaningful, at least to me, and I think all of us as county commissioners, including Mark Zayas, is a wonderful thing. So let me read this proclamation. This proclamation recognizing March 30th as Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day. Whereas on February 2nd, 2010, Governor Gregoire signed a proclamation declaring every March 30th, Washington State as Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day after the tireless efforts of Vietnam veteran Norman Gooden to have this day officially recognized. And whereas March 30th, 2018 represents the 45th anniversary of the end of the American involvement in the Vietnam conflict. And whereas thousands of brave Americans served our country in this conflict with courage, honor, and valor, and whereas more than 58,000 individuals made the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam, and more than 300,000 more were wounded in combat, and whereas 1,602 Americans are still missing and unaccounted for from the Vietnam conflict, and their families, friends, and fellow veterans still endure uncertainty concerning their fate. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Clallam County Commissioners, hereby proclaim March 30th as Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day in Clallam County and urge all citizens to join in the special observance and take the opportunity to honor and thank our Vietnam veterans for all they have given in service to our country. Signed the 27th day of March 2018, Board of Clallam County Commissioners, Mark Zayas, Bill Peach, and Randy Johnson. Thank you for allowing us to have this on. Thank you.
This is for the 6,000 of our comrades who are still out there looking for their way home.
Thank you.
And salute. Two.
visitor from the past. I had a dream the other night. I didn't understand. A figure walking through the midst with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat and speaking low, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and the home of the brave. The freedom we secured for you, we hope you'd always keep. But tyrants laboriously, endlessly, labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. Think of this. In this, the land of the free and the home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business, or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent. Although you have no voice in choosing how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate. Your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. Interesting stuff. Think about it. You read about the current news in the regulated press. You pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Is this true? Your money is no longer made of silver or gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God in shambles. You've taken Satan's number as you've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm, so they can padlock churches and steal the family farm. Is this true? And keep our country deep in debt. Put men of God in jail. Harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. This could be. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oath they've sworn. Your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Does this happen? Your leaders ship artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Very true. Can you regain the freedom for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? Are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? People of the Republic, rise and take a stand. Defend the Constitution and supreme law of the land. Preserve our great Republic as God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he vanished in the midst from whence he came. His words were true. We're not free. We have ourselves to blame. For even now, as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you're asleep and wonders what remains of our rights he fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and the home of the brave? Author unknown. Is this something to think about?
If you would like to see the full Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans ceremony, you can view it in its entirety by visiting our YouTube page. Go to youtube.com and enter Port Angeles News in the search bar. Scroll down to Port Angeles News, click the video button, and then click on the Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans video. And now let's take a look at our weather for the week. Friday, mostly cloudy, high of 58, overnight 47. Saturday, rainy, high of 50, overnight 44. Sunday, morning rain, high of 52, overnight of 42. Monday, mostly cloudy, high of 56, overnight 47. Tuesday, rainy, high of 51, overnight 41. Wednesday, rainy, high of 50, overnight 48. Thursday, rainy, high of 48, overnight 38. Mayor Sissy Brook proclaimed the month of April Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Thank you. Welcome, guys. We have one piece of ceremonial matter. Becca Corby, please come up here. She's the Executive Director of Healthy Families of Clallam County. So, thank you. Welcome. Hello. We've got a proclamation for you, and I will read it from here. It says, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. This is going to be for April. Whereas rape and sexual assault and sexual harassment affects men, women, and children of all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds, and whereas everyday men, women, and children suffer the pain and trauma of sexual assault, from verbal harassment and intimidation to molestation and rape, this crime occurs far too frequently, goes unreported far too often, and leaves long-lasting physical and emotional scars. And whereas about 2/3 of sexual assault are committed by someone who is known to the victim, and the emotional and physical scars resulting from sexual violence are often severe and long-lasting. And whereas we must work together to educate our entire population about what can be done to prevent sexual assault, support survivors and their significant others, and ensure that survivors are not re-victimized. And whereas with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, there is compelling evidence that we can be successful in reducing crimes against citizens through increased awareness and prevention, and by holding those who commit acts of violence accountable for their actions. And whereas this recognition will increase the awareness of sexual assault issues and encourage individuals to seek the help from those agencies providing services to sexual assault victims. And whereas it is time for all of us to start conversations regarding sexual violence, increase awareness, take appropriate action, help victims, heal lives, and support one another to create a safer environment for all. Now therefore, I, Sissy Brook, Mayor, on behalf of the City Council of Port Angeles, do hereby declare the month of April 2018 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and call upon all citizens of Port Angeles to speak out against sexual violence and to support community efforts to prevent and respond to these crimes. And so here is your proclamation. You're welcome. And would you like to say a couple of words?
Well, all right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So council members, mayor, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Becca, and I'm the Director of Healthy Families, which, for those of you who don't know, is a small private nonprofit agency serving victims of domestic and sexual violence. And we house the only nationally accredited children's advocacy center on the Olympic Peninsula. That said, domestic violence and sexual assault are not decreasing, they are on the rise. For those of you who read the paper over the last week, you'll see that there were some really icky people doing some really icky things to our most precious commodity, and that's our children. I would like to recognize one of those people is here. Every Sexual Assault Awareness Month, a very large group of us, including prosecutors, law enforcement, law advocates, Child Protective Services, nominate people for what's called the Gratitude Award. This is an award that goes to, it can be any human being who is doing something above and beyond for those who are weaker, smaller, hurt, damaged, frightened. And one of the recipients this year was our own Detective Shane Martin. And I would like Shane to come forward if he would. And Brian, do you want to come too? And we can really embarrass him. He's a blusher. And so. So for the sake of convenience, we give these awards at the county commissioners meeting sometime during April, and that's what happened this morning. And other recipients are Gerald Brown from Department of Corrections, which a lot of people who I work with, my colleagues, think that we're nuts because we have such great collaboration with law enforcement, Department of Corrections, hospital, Child Protective Services, which normally is not the case. But we are very, very blessed and gifted in Port Angeles to have a law enforcement agency that's got brains and heart. And Shane is one of our most gifted child forensic interviewers, and this is a very fragile environment to work in. When you have a 7-year-old child who's been raped, who's going to question that child? And it better be someone who's highly skilled, has a heart, and Shane brings, and I said it this morning, and it's kind of an odd word to put in a relationship in the same sentence of a man, but he has a gentility about him. Not just a gentleness, but he brings a true gentility that encompasses understanding and comfort and safety. And I have probably been privy to, 250, 300 child interviews, and Shane is at the top of the list. So we're very, very grateful that he's in our community, so thank you very much.
So thank you, Becca, and thank you, Ms. Mayor, and Shane. Shane is truly one of the best. Those of you that know Shane and work with Shane, they don't get any better than him, and we who work with Shane, we learn something from him every day, and he's really very deserving of this award, and he, as really modest and the way Shane is, he wouldn't necessarily want to get the recognition, but it's recognition for everybody on his team in the police department and the great work these guys do. So thanks very much, Shane.
When I told Shane at the last multidisciplinary team meeting at the Children's Advocacy Center, where we were talking about recent cases, I said he would be the recipient of the Gratitude Award, and he said, no thanks. And then he lied to his boss and said I never told him, so that's how shy he is. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shane.
Collin County Fire District 3 held an emergency preparedness presentation at Sunland. The title of this presentation, Cascadia and its Impact on You. It focused on the general Sequim community area.
Thank you, sir. I'm Blaine Seconelli. I work for Collin County Fire District 3. I'm a volunteer with them, but I do the disaster planning for the fire district. And here with me tonight is my boss, Assistant Chief Dan Orr. And I have Mr. Jim Buck over there, and he will also be talking tonight. So I'm going to turn this over to you, sir.
Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So a little bit about me. We'll start working down this road, how some of this has come to fruition. I'm new to this part of the world. I've been here for about 2 years, which is new for most people, right? I come from the socialist state of California. I was a fire chief in Southern California for a small community. My wife decided that, it was time, I decided it was time to retire. She decided that, no, you need to go find a job. So, here I am. This is where I ended up, and I'm very blessed to be here. I thought I was leaving earthquake country. Little did I know I was moving into potentially the biggest disaster that we could face as a nation by coming here. So, that's a little bit about me. This tonight is not about, I'm not trying to create alarmists. What I'm trying to create is realists, right? This is a possibility. This is about preparing for all kinds of disasters right? But what I'm going to show you tonight, what we're going to show you tonight, is the worst possible thing that we can think of. Okay? Old fire chief. Old fire chiefs sit there and think this way. What's the worst thing I can think of? Because if I compare for the worst thing, anything less than that is easy, right? And that's what the hope of this is. No for sale signs, right? Nobody leaves. I don't want everybody at the end of this presentation going, that's it, I told you, it's time to get out of here. We're leaving, right? Put the house up, I'm getting out of here. This has been studying this for years. As much as they say they're planning, they've been studying. FEMA's good at studying. So what have you all heard from FEMA? 3 days, right? For how, I know, as long as, when I was a young man, that was a long time ago, right? 3 days. 3 days of food, 3 days of water, 3 days of medicine. 6 months ago, well, 6 to 8 months ago, the state of Washington sat there and went, oh, that's not nearly enough. We need to do 14. So that's what the state of Washington will tell you. 14 days of food, 14 days of water, 14 days of medicine, 14 days of being able to take care of yourself without going to a store or doing those kinds of things. Now here's the bad news. I'm going to tell you different. I'm going to tell you 30. 30 days of food, 30 days of water, 30 days of medicine. Okay? You folks have all already started. You don't know it, but you're all preppers at heart, right? Because I will bet you money, marbles, or chalk, all of you have got 5 to 7 days of food sitting in your pantry right now, right? You may have to eat the lima beans that are way in the back. Right?
The primary takeaway from this presentation is to be prepared to shelter at home or at other locations you normally could be for at least 30 days. If you would like to see the full presentation of Cascadia and the impact on you, go to youtube.com, search Port Angeles News in the search bar, scroll down to Port Angeles News, click on the videos section, and then search for Sunland Cascadia and its impact on you. With a vote of 4 to 3, the plastic bag ordinance passed on Tuesday night. Both sides made points for and against the ordinance. 2 council members, Jim Moran and Sherry Kidd, were against the ordinance, and one, Michael Meredith, against the newest updated version, favoring the previous versions.
All right, folks, we've had a lot of discussion. We have a motion on the table and a second. So let's get on with it. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. No. All right, so it looks like we have a 4 to 3 on the vote for the ordinance. Do you need any more clarification on that? No? Okay. All right. So it looks like the plastic ban has passed.
If you would like to see the full Port Angeles City Council meeting, visit our Port Angeles YouTube page by searching Port Angeles News in the search bar and scrolling down to our page. Click on the Videos tab and then search for the April 3rd City Council meeting video. City Council member Jim Moran joined us Wednesday evening at the Peninsula Area Public Access Studio for a segment on Get to Know Your New City Council. He answered questions so that we could get to know him a little better. Stay tuned next week to hear what City Council member Jim Moran had to say. The conversation lasted a little over 2 hours. If you could ask one question to a person, dead or alive, who would you ask and what would you ask?
If I could ask one question, wow. I don't know. I mean, I probably have a lot of unanswered questions, and I don't know that I'll ever get around to asking them all, but there's a lot of people that have had impacts on my life. You know, obviously my wife has been the number one impact, but there's mentors, there's people that have given me opportunities that I was able to take advantage of. There's people that have given me some really sound advice that I really appreciated and helped me move along in a way. One particular question, I don't really have a burning question to ask anybody in particular. There's a lot of unanswered questions in the universe. I mean, like, where does the universe end? Things like that. But I don't really dwell on that kind of stuff. It's just a matter of taking what's been given to you and just doing the best you can with it, and not so much asking people, or asking a burning question, but just being appreciative of what people have done for you. I mean, there's a number of people in this town that have been very accepting and very generous with their time with me, and if I had to, it's almost, the rhetorical question is, why me? Why have you singled me out? That type of thing. How did I come to deserve this? Those are the typical questions that people may have gnawing at themselves over time. Why did I deserve this? Or the person who's done some extraordinary thing for you. Why did you do that for me? That type of thing. But I don't tend to ask that question because it's I accept the fact that people are doing it because they want to do something and they want to see something of me that maybe I didn't see coming, and they did, and so it's really difficult to pinpoint. I don't really have an unanswered question other than why is there air? No, I don't know. I don't really have an answer for that question. Yeah.
Fair enough. We would like to thank Peninsula Area Public Access for the use of their studio for our Meet Your New City Council segment. If you would like more information about Peninsula Area Public Access, go to their website, www.papaonline.tv, to get more information about programming, memberships, and contact information. If you have any news you would like us to cover, you can contact us at info@portangeles-news.com or by going to our Facebook page @PortAngeles News. Thank you for watching this broadcast of Port Angeles News. This concludes our broadcast. Until next time.